Welcome back. Congressional leaders unveiling a 1,500-plus page continuing resolution bill to keep the government funded through March 15th. The bill includes more than $100 billion for disaster relief. It includes $10 billion in aid for farmers. Many Republican lawmakers, however, are slamming some of the so-called Christmas tree ornaments in this bill. They include duty-free Haitian apparel imports and lithium-ion battery legislation. It also moves the jurisdiction of RFK Stadium back to Washington, D.C. It adds $50 million for inauguration expenses. It allows E15 ethanol to be sold year-round and includes 500 pages of health provisions. Elon Musk weighed in on it this morning, posting this on X. This bill should not pass. I spoke with Georgia Congressman Andrew Clyde about it in the last hour. Watch.
The most egregious thing about this bill is you've got at least $110 billion, perhaps up to $125 billion, that is not paid for, that it's more borrowing to our national debt. This is not following the theory of government efficiency. So I will be voting no on this bill. We simply need to tell the American people that they need to get a hold of their members of Congress and say this is not acceptable.
Joining me now is Indiana Congresswoman Erin Houchin. She is a member of the House Financial Services, Rules and Education Committees, also a Republican Conference Secretary-elect. Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. How do you view the bill?
Well, we're still going through it, Maria. Thank you for having me on this morning. We're still going through the bill. There are some things in there that I do like a one-year farm bill extension. I come from an ag district in Indiana, so there are things in the bill that some Republicans on the Hill do like. However, I understand that there are concerns with the level of spending. My understanding is we're still looking for a pay-for, and there might be some possibility of having companion legislation that might offset some of those costs. But the bottom line is we need to get through the end of this year so we can get into the first 100 days of the Trump administration and actually get to work on reducing the debt.
Do you feel that you're pushing some of this into the new year because, Kevin McCarthy joined me a couple of weeks ago and said what they're not doing is they're not giving President Trump a clean slate when he begins?
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is a concern of that, but we have to be able to get through this funding portion. We have reconciliation coming up after the first of the year, which will really, truly give us an opportunity to start to cut back some of the debt and the deficit spending. That's where we'll work on a tax package. We'll work on border security, energy production, permitting reform, some of those things that are really going to spur the economy. But we do need to get into through this and into the first few days of the Trump administration to actually be able to get to work.
Yeah, but when you get to work on things like the border and energy, there's a debate there as well because voters want you to extend the tax cuts. And I know that there's a debate within the membership on how to do this. Right now, the idea is to do two reconciliation packages, one at the beginning of the year to get a win on the board for the border and energy permitting, and then another later on in the year. But Jason Smith, the chairman of House Ways and Means, says why not just do a gigantic omnibus-type bill at the beginning of the year and attack the two most important things for voters, and that was the border and taxes. Here's Jason Smith with me on Sunday. Watch.
I believe that the one package is the quickest and best approach to deliver these victories for the American people.
So you say maybe there's an opportunity to do one gigantic omnibus-type package and put it all in there, border, defense, energy, and taxes.
And spending cuts. I believe it is the quickest approach and the best approach.
Well, look, we do plan to get to the extension of the tax cuts. And so the thought is we can do two in a year, but the first one involving securing additional funding for border security, possibly some defense spending, while simultaneously providing what are called pay-fors, offsets to any spending, will also be in the package.
Where are you on this debate, Congresswoman?
I support Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith's position that probably the most important thing we can do to give relief to the American people is deal with the tax package. I think we can do this in one, and if we try to break it up into two, I think we might run into some issues down the road. We will have the best opportunity within the first 100 days to get this done, so I favor getting as much done as possible during those first few months of the year, which is the position that Chairman Smith has been advocating for.
Yeah, but he also said you can put spending cuts in there. I mean, look, how are we supposed to believe that you're going to have anything to offset all the spending when you can't even offset the spending in this year-end continuing resolution, right? You just heard what Andrew Clyde said, that there's $110 to $125 billion that's not paid for, adding to the debt again.
Because after the first of the year, we will not only have the majority and a small majority in the House of Representatives, but we will also have the presidency and we will have the Senate as under Republican control, which will give us a better opportunity to try to get these spending cuts, as well as people working in the cabinet like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy trying to work on government efficiency at the same time. So I think there's a much better opportunity. We do have to get through this end of the year and just be able to, for President Trump to hit the ground running without this as a distraction.
Look, I mean, how much of this is really realistic in terms of cutting out all of this money in government? It seems like you all have such a hard time cutting out the bulk of the spending. And I want to know how this DOGE arrangement is going to work. The House DOGE caucus held its first meeting yesterday. More than 60 congressional members attended, including 3 Democrats. Senate DOGE caucus co-founder James Lankford introduced 2 bills to cut government waste, one addressing unemployment fraud and the other extending the statute of limitations to prosecute COVID-19 recovery fund fraud. The most recent report from the COVID fraud task force found more than 3,500 defendants charged with federal crimes, over $1.4 billion in seizures and forfeiture orders to recover money, and more than 400 civil settlements and judgments relating to anti-fraud efforts. I mean, this is incredible how much fraud and abuse there was just in the COVID. And we know that there was way too much COVID stimulus, $7 trillion in spending on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watch. So again, how do you plan to really cut waste when you can't even come up with offsets for this most recent year-end CR?
Well, I think we can. I'm more optimistic than I've ever been since coming to Congress, and I've been here a short time, but having the DOGE caucus together, and I'm part of it. I was there yesterday for our first meeting. I am optimistic that we're going to be able to get some of these things done. We had a very productive meeting with Vivek and Elon Musk last week with many members of the Republican conference to get ideas on how we can cut some of the government waste, like the Merit Act, which I think is a strong piece of legislation that can help us to weed out some of these unelected bureaucrats who are ideologically causing us problems with moving Trump's agenda forward.
Well, Congresswoman, you were elected to be the next Republican conference secretary, beating out Missouri Congressman Mark Alford and Iowa Congresswoman Marionette Miller Meeks for the job. Tell us about this position. What will you be able to do in the new Congress?
Well, thank you. It's been an honor, certainly, to be elected by the conference to serve as conference secretary. In that role, we really serve as a liaison between the membership and the Speaker's office and just be that member services assist. But we also are in charge of mentoring other new members incoming and providing professional development for some of our members. So I'm very excited to be part of the team to help us all be on the same page, hopefully moving into the next Congress.
All right. Well, we certainly will be wishing you the best and watching your work. Congresswoman, thank you for being here this morning.